Good evening, everyone. Thank you guys all for joining our February meeting of the Inter-Neighborhood Council Organization General Membership Meeting. We are going to start, well, first of all, this is our first meeting of the year. Thank you all for joining. Unfortunately, our chair has become ill, and so we wish her a very speedy recovery and look forward to seeing her next month. So I'm going to go ahead and start with roll call. Adam, can you take roll, please?
Thank you, Chair. Our first Vice Chair, give me 1 second to pull that up. Bartolo Square North, Nate Castillo. Bartolo Square South, Justin Richards. Blackstock North, Nancy Rand. Blackstock South, Christopher Bissonette. Here. Bryce Canyon North, John Hike.
Present virtually.
And Mr. Hike, per state law IB 2449, I need to ask you if you have anyone in the room with you that's below the age of 18.
No, I don't.
Thank you. Cabrillo, Rainey Steffen. Cal Giesler, Elizabeth Garcia. Carriage Square, Len Schulman. Channel Islands, Dave Copper. College Estates, John Beck. Diamond Bar, Dennis Ralph. East Village, Ronald Varejo. El Rio West, Dan Ryberg. 5 Points Northeast, Pat Brown. Fremont North, Dave Ebbett. Fremont South, Kim Winch. Hobson Park, Roger Poirier. Hobson Park West, Cecilia Ravello. Hollywood by the Sea, Michelle Carrillo. Kamala Park, Bill Winter. La Colonia, Ramon Lopez. Marina West, Pat Haydett. Orchard Park, Diana Velzy.
Here. On Zoom.
Good evening, Chair Velzy. Per state law IB 2449, is there anyone in the room with you that is below the age of 18?
No.
Thank you. Oxnard Dunes, Lisa Hewitt. Oxnard Shores, Walt Hagedum. Pleasant Valley Estates, Rosanna Biggerstaff. Redwood, Carlos Quiroz. Rio Lindo, Tim Gingras. River Park, Paul Schnembelin. Excuse me. Rose Park, Alfonso Arroyo. Sea Air, Edward Castillo. Seaview Estates, Isaac Califf. Sierra Linda, Sergio Garcia. South Bank, Debbie Aravello. Here. South Wind, Sofia Vega.
Present.
Thank you, Ms. Vega. And per state law IB 2449, is there anyone in the room with you that is below the age of 18?
Nope.
Thank you. Tierra Vista, Christina Thomas. Via Marina, Doug Tauber. Wagon Wheel, Amanda Muir.
Here.
West Village, Michael Gleason. Wilson, Angela Whitecomb. Here. Windsor North, Andres Sanchez. Thank you, Chair. We have a quorum.
Thank you, Adam. Next, we're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance, led by our fourth Vice Chair.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next item of business will be approval of the December 6th minutes. We can go ahead and take a minute to look over those, and then we'll take a vote. Do I hear a motion?
A motion to accept.
Yes, a motion to accept the minutes. Perfect. Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Perfect. The minutes are approved.
Excuse me, Chair. Was that you, Ms. Steffen, with the, okay, the second, thank you.
Thank you. So at this time, we're going to do public comments. Each person has a maximum of 3 minutes. At this time, a person may address the INCO on matters within the subject matter jurisdiction of the INCO. The INCO cannot enter into a detailed discussion or take any actions on any items presented during public comments. Such items may only be referred to the executive secretary for administrative action or scheduled on a subsequent agenda for discussion. Public comments on the agenda will be considered at the time of consideration of the agenda item. Do we have anybody who would like to speak during public comment? Yes, go ahead and please come up to the mic.
Right here, right? Perfect. Good evening, everybody. My name is Andrew Peak. I'm here on behalf of the Boys and Girls Clubs of Greater Oxnard and Port Hueneme. We have been part of this community for almost 70 years. We're actually celebrating our 70th birthday this year. And part of our mission is to continually improve. So we have partnered with the University of Southern California, which has a terrible football team, but a wonderful school of public policy, to do a community needs assessment, where we want to take an in-depth look at what our community needs. And we would very much like for the neighborhood councils to take an active role in that process. You all have your finger on the pulse of your neighborhoods. And we want to make sure that if we have the opportunity to improve and serve any neighborhood better, we would take that. We would like to poll your members, we would like to interview your members, and work with the members that are coming to your meetings. I put my card and some information on the Boys and Girls Club and our current programming right up there at the front. I ask that you review that information and take time to reach out to me if you'd like to take part in this survey process. I want to thank you all for your dedication to the community, and that's my time. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else who would like to speak during public comment? Seeing none, is there anybody online?
No, Chair.
Okay. Thank you. So on section E, new business, the first presentation that we will hear is going to be from Many Mansions. The INCO, the 2024 INCO Executive Board will receive a presentation for representatives from Many Mansions, followed by a question and answer.
Oh, there it's on already. Great. Yeah, before I turn over to Many Mansions, I just want to give a little bit of an overview. My name is Albert Ramirez. I'm the Assistant Director here for the Oxnard Housing Department. Just really excited to share this project with you all. It's a project we've been working on for many months now with Many Mansions, who's, if you do not know Many Mansions, they're a very well-established affordable housing developer in Ventura County. They are developing Central Terrace. If you guys are familiar with that project, it's in the Meta District. It's a multi-story affordable housing complex that will serve our homeless families and other low-income families in the community. The project before you today that they will provide an update on is Aspire Apartments, which is just north of Central Terrace. So it's a project that they're in the process of seeking state funding for. We're really excited about the opportunity because not only would we potentially be eligible to receive funding for the housing project, but we would be eligible to receive about $5 million for infrastructure in the city of Oxnard, as well as for critical programs in the community. So I just want to kind of give that overview before I turn it over to Many Mansions, who will provide a more in-depth overview of the project.
Welcome.
Good evening. Thank you, Albert. My name is Doug Menges. I am the Executive Director of Many Mansions. And with me is Mark DeCecco, our architect, on the project that we're talking to you about tonight. I believe I have a PowerPoint. There is a clicker. Okay, very good. Yeah, so this is really our chance to have a very brief discussion and overview of really what is going to be the near twin of Central Terrace, which we're going to call Aspire Apartments. And tonight we're going to be talking about what Aspire looks like and the thing that, and how we're partnering with the city of Oxnard. First, about Many Mansions, we are a well-established nonprofit here in Ventura County. We have built now, this will be, with Aspire, this will be our fifth project here. We're celebrating our 45th anniversary this year. We were founded in 1979, over 600 apartments. We manage our own properties, each and every one of them. And we also provide our own adult services case management. And with our Ormond Beach property, we were named the Developer of the Year a few years ago. And speaking of Ormond Beach, there it is. It's doing well, doing great. A very brief update on Central Terrace Apartments. It is really, in terms of a development and a development timeline, it's been our shining star. On time, on budget, and we are opening for business in May. It will be 87 units, primarily one bedrooms. There it is, right there off of Meta and 6th Street. And I couldn't speak more highly of the partnership we have with the city on Central Terrace. And I feel like Aspire, which will be, just above there, just above Central Terrace, is going to go just as well. So that's enough about Central Terrace. It's just going fantastic. Here's a picture of how it's going to look. Now, let me introduce Mark DeCecco, who was the architect on Central Terrace and is our architect on Aspire. And Mark will take you through what Aspire looks like, and then I'll come back and talk to you about really the benefits to the city that we see happening with Aspire and also with Central Terrace, and take questions, of course, after that. Mark.
Thank you, Doug. Everybody hear me okay? Is there a pointer with this thing as well? Yeah. Point in the right direction? Oh, there we go. Okay. There we go. Okay. Thank you very much for allowing us to come and present this project to you. As you can tell, Doug is very proud of the Central Terrace project. I'm sure you've all seen it by now. This Aspire project is basically going to be its twin sister. Maybe not exactly the same look, but very similar sort in concept. And so basically, what you have is Central Terrace is here, and this is currently at 87 units. Well, the Aspire project is going to happen directly north of it, and that's going to be 88 units. The difference between the two, it's a much bigger, it's a bigger site. Let me see if I'll get to the next slide, then we can see. It's a slightly bigger site. It's actually on Meta Street, whereas Central Terrace is actually facing 6th Street. But it's very similar in concept in that it's a ground floor with parking and with the community services, and then 4 floors of apartments up above. And this is basically, this Aspire has been through community meetings. It's actually entitled at this point, but hasn't started construction documents yet. We'll be starting those in June of this year. And so we're anticipating construction a year out beyond that, basically. So very similar in concept with the ground floor, again, with parking and community services facing the street. Again, I don't know if you've been by Central Terrace, large open windows facing the street, people be able to sort of interact inside and outside. Again, very similar, ground floor of parking and the community spaces, and then 4 floors of apartments. The difference between Aspire and Central Terrace is these apartments are going to be a little bit bigger for a slightly different population. For the most part, Central Terrace is individual single 1-bedroom units, but the population here may include small families, things like that. So that's what's going to make it a little bit different, but conceptually it's very similar. And again, The other thing that's of interest between the two is there's a very small sliver of land between the two projects. It's 25 feet wide and a block long. And that's basically, we're turning that into a pocket park for the two projects. So that's actually going to be a publicly available, you're going to be able to use that park during the day. And that's going to occur right here, adjacent to the building, along its long side. And then Central Terrace is over here, and it's going to be looking, Central Terrace will look down into it, but then also the Aspire project, even the hallways will be directly connected. You'll be able to look over in the hallways into this pocket park that's going to be, it'll be built simultaneously with the building itself. So it's actually going to be constructed, and then it'll be used by both of the projects. So basically, this is what we're doing. It's, if you're out there and you see the sort of size and scale and shape of the building, it's very sort of similar, maybe a little bit longer, but it's similar, and it's, again, it's almost directly next door to it. And these are just images. You can see similar. I don't know if you're familiar. If you look at Central Terrace, it's basically a donut. All of the units, there's an interior courtyard that all of the units look into. This is very similar in its orientation. So all of the interior units will be looking into the courtyard, but then the difference is all of the units that face the park will actually be able to, their balconies actually look into the park itself. That's one of the major differences. And that's basically it. And after Doug speaks a little bit more, we're available for any questions that you have. So thank you.
Thank you, Mark. So one reason why we're here is to explain how we intend to go about this. And it's a very similar playbook to what we utilize for Central Terrace, which is the Affordable Housing Sustainable Community, the Greenhouse Gas Fund that the state of California has now put out for many years. We're now on round 8, basically year 8 of this Greenhouse Gas Fund. And what it means is, and this is where the partnership comes between the city and the developer. The developer, we, Many Mansions, gets a big chunk of money to build these apartments, and the city gets also a great sum of money to improve walkability, to improve transportation, to effectively take cars off the street. So what we'll do, like we're doing with Central Terrace, is something called sustainable transit. We'll build infrastructure for, I think for Central Terrace, we're purchasing a number of vans from Cal Vans, for example. In this case, we're rebuilding sidewalks, and we're doing some investment down the street at the transit center. We're rebuilding bus shelters. All told, we don't have the exact number yet, but it'll be upwards of $9 million of infrastructure money that will come to the city. That will take a few years to build, but that's really the plan of this. So you can see here, we the developer, we can apply for up to 35 million. We won't apply for nearly that to build this apartment property. And then the grant to the city will be bikeways, walkways. Developers have bought buses and vans in the past, improving bus stops, benches, really everything to take cars off the street. So we can't repave a street, but we can rebuild a sidewalk next to a street. We can put a bus shelter next to a street, etc. Also for Central Terrace, we partnered with the local bicycle nonprofit, and we'll have not only bike parking at Central Terrace, but I also believe at Aspire as well, making Oxnard an even more bike-friendly city than it is. that's really it. You can see my contact information up there. I will say also, we intend to have more community meetings. February 29th is we intend to have a town hall meeting where we'll lay out much more detail about this infrastructure that the city will get. And we'll also display some more detailed plans of the footprint of Aspire, and also some timelines, and explain how we manage properties, how we provide case services, all of that. That's what I came to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Doug. So we're gonna start, if anyone has any questions, let's start I don't want to use the word audience, but start with the general membership, and then we can take it up to the dais, because I know some of us have a lot of questions. Go ahead.
Thank you for the presentation. One of the questions that I have on one of the slides, I think it's 812, and it's showing the models of the buildings out there. I didn't see any parking out there. How are you gonna be having parking for those all that?
Yeah, much like Central Terrace, there is ground floor parking in the first floor of the building. Sorry, I'm losing my voice. And so you don't see the parking because it's inside the building.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Chris Bissonette, Blackstock South. Quick question, how are you going to advertise this 29th of February meeting, and where is it going to be held at?
We have a site already. We intend to advertise it through local groups, through the city. We want to that's why we're here, is to get the word out to hopefully.
So one of my recommendations is next door, please put it on that. If you're familiar
Okay,
with that.
that's a great idea.
Because that way it gives a bunch in there. We've also got another community meeting going on that same time frame for refuge over at the Center Library in South Oxnard.
Oh, great.
So that might be a conflict of time if you're looking at it. So,
Same day?
yes. So something to think about, or maybe have a second meeting.
Maybe we can do both. Maybe we can do
Well, thank
both. Yes, thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
Great idea.
Hi.
Hello, Deborah Arvalo, South Bank neighborhood. Question 1 was taken care of. Question 2 was taken care of. So I'd like to go ahead and ask 2 other questions that came to mind. I saw that on your transportation portion, you put rail cars. Can you give a little bit more information on that?
Yeah, it was an example. I don't think we're buying any rail cars for the city, but.
That's right. That's why I was asking, because it was on there in your presentation. And then just because some of us here in the neighborhoods know that when there's buildings that come up, new buildings that are put up, just for a safeguard, when you start your building, it becomes a magnet for actually the building, infrastructure, and then the surrounding area.
Yeah.
We had this, South Bank butts up right next to Riveridge and the railroad tracks, and it became, you're all nodding your head up there, it became quite an issue. So what are your plans for that? Indicative of saying, yes, we are going to be doing X, Y, Z to protect the current people who live around the area, as well as your structure that you're going to be building.
So I'm not aware of the issues it caused, to be honest, but we will certainly figure out what those issues are and learn our lessons when we start Central Terrace.
So if you're in the area right now, you can go as if though you're going to Collection via off Ventura Road, and you can see some of the safeguards they attempted to do, and they have several things going up now, and I think it would behoove you to take a little tour that way to see, because what happens is it becomes, I call them my neighbors, but it's the homeless. And so wondering if you have taken any precautionary measures. And that is located on, what's that turn? I can't think of the turn off of Ventura Road to go to the Collection. No.
No, it's on the other side. I know what you're talking about. Yes, Town Center Drive.
Town Center Drive, correct. And so we have new buildings. There's a hotel going up there. There's a fast stop going up there with gas and all the rest. But you need to really take a bird's eye view of what's going on there to help you as well as all of the constituents and members and neighborhoods around here.
Yeah, just to add to it though, because Central Terrace is under construction now, the entire development team, the developer themselves, the design team, the construction team, it's all gonna be the same team.
Correct.
And so basically, because of that, and there's actually even the contractor themselves have a substantial neighborhood outreach to make sure that the neighbors that you know, because it's construction activity, their streets get torn up and other sorts of things like that. There's a really strong outreach component just to make sure that all the neighbors are taken care of. Also, Central Terrace is directly across the street from the rescue mission, so, you know.
Correct.
So
I'm just thinking of the surrounding perimeter,
yes,
correct?
yeah,
Because
absolutely. Yeah,
I don't live that close, but close enough to where our river park is and the construction going on there.
Right.
And we are almost a half a mile away and we see the traffic going
Understood.
on because it's another way of hiding, hanging out, that
Yep.
type of thing.
yeah,
So
and
if you could take that into consideration.
Oh, yeah, for sure, and I'm familiar with that area. I've done quite a bit of work on River Park itself, and also some small development, some small work on Wagon Wheel on the other side of the freeway as well. So I'm familiar
Okay,
with the
thank
area
you
that
so
you're
much.
talking about.
Okay, if we can just kind of switch, we just have one person online and then we can kind of go back to in person, if that's okay. If you can state your name and what neighborhood you're from.
Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Hello?
Yes, hello.
Hi. I am a 20-year property owner here on 6th and B Street. And I did hear somebody speak about that Aspire on Meta. And what are the disability programs or plans to make sure that you deter any homeless people that are around the area to make sure that they are following the rules and making sure that it's not the same as the other homeless or affordable units that you have somewhere else in Oxnard?
So if I understand the question, what are we doing to manage the property once it's fully occupied? And we'll have our own on-site property manager. We'll have our own case managers who work there during the day. We'll have security. We'll have security cameras throughout. I don't know if I'm answering your questions, but that's what typically Many Mansions has when we manage a property.
No, that's great. You know, Oxnard PD has done a great job with the ordinance as far as making sure that the people are not obviously around the area. I just want to make sure it's sustainable and it is managed properly. So you did answer my question. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. We can go back to in person.
Hi, I'm writing with Cabrillo, and it was Mark, right? So you had stated that the Aspire units were going to be larger, but are they like 2-1s, 3-1s? Do you guys know yet? What size are we looking at?
They're going to be 1s and 2s.
We have 50,
Okay.
50, either 54 or 56 one-bedrooms, and 56 one-bedrooms and 22 two-bedrooms.
Okay, so only up to a 2-bedroom unit.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Can we have the next speaker?
Hi, I'm Roger Poirier, Hobson Park East Neighborhood Council. Thanks for the presentation this evening. Got to say, some of the best looking architecture I've seen in Oxnard for a long time. So these are very nice, large buildings. How many stories are they? 4?
It'll be 4 stories over parking.
Very good. So the Meta District is a tough little neighborhood. Could be great. unfortunately, the chair from Five Points isn't here tonight, so I'll speak up on her behalf. The walkability funds that you have available, will they be expended in the Meta District primarily, or?
Yes, we're designing that now. The rules state, and the rules are fairly complicated, but the rules state that you can develop bike and walkability pathing sidewalks generally as long as they're contiguous, as they attach to one another. And so they can go fairly far out, if I'm right. I didn't bring the map with me tonight, but that's one of the things that we'll try to show during our town hall on the 29th.
I'm hoping you'll be planting trees along Meta and along Sixth.
Yeah, there's green.
I mean, a lot of trees, so
Yeah,
that becomes a fully planted green neighborhood. It really needs that.
Okay.
That'll help, certainly help with greenhouse gases. It helps with shading. It'll just make it a much more pleasant, walkable neighborhood. Really needs it in that neighborhood. This is a little bit inside baseball question. I know that other developers pay Quimby funds when they put in large apartment structures, but I don't know if nonprofits do. Do nonprofits pay Quimby funds in lieu fees when you're bringing in, what do you have, 130 units total between the two?
Well, between the two, we have 88 and 87. So we pay what's called development impact fees, which are akin to Quimby, but not exactly.
So not specifically designated for parks or recreation?
Well, there's a schedule of certain money goes to schools, certain money goes to parks, et cetera.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we are building apartments, so it's part of this project.
Yeah.
You're building the little paseo there?
The paseo, right.
But isn't that's actually just part of the requirement for downtown, building in the downtown of significant structures like yours is. And it's great, and I wish it the best. I think it'll be shaded all the time, so I don't know what you're gonna be able to do in there, but it's a great thing. That'll be public. That's really important. But there are opportunities in that neighborhood to bring some kind of park, some kind of recreation. The city just acquired 10,000 square feet of empty lots that we hope to, where the neighborhood council's starting to discuss what can be done with those spaces. So hopefully it could be something like the Dr. Lopez Garden, kind of an event space, art space. Has to be programmed space. It cannot be just open park in that neighborhood. So I'd like to talk to you guys later with the Boys and Girls Club. It's very fortuitous you were both here tonight. The Parks and Rec Commission's been working on this project for years. So,
And just to let you know, we actually did some work and got another project entitled.
If we can just,
Yeah.
thank you.
Another project entitled, and we're actually looking at greening up the alleyways as well. So we won't be able to do it on this project, but that's certainly something that we've been sensitive to all along. So taking your greening the streets and taking that to the next step and actually trying to make it so, if working with the fire department, working with the police department, actually trying to green up the alley spaces that are existing as well.
great, thank you.
Thank you. Can we go to the person online? I know that they had their hand raised.
Yes, I would like to know are you guys planning to build a bicycle lane or share the road? Or if this is going to be protected from vehicles? Is it going to be sidewalk, bicycle lane, and then the incoming traffic?
Thank you. Can you just remind me of what your name and what neighborhood you're with, just so we can make sure that we have that written down? That'd be great.
Magda in River Park. And I'm concerned because I see that a lot of parks in River Park, they only have a bicycle lane, but then I get sandwiched between the cars that are parked, and then the incoming cars. So I'm sandwiched by both of them. So it's very insecure, very unsafe.
Perfect. Thank you for your question.
Yeah, I'm not the public works expert, but I have some information. So right now, the street that we're looking at improving is Woolley Road. So it's a project that they currently have slated in their CIP. So it's an approved city project, and it would resurface the street and then add a protected bike lane on a certain stretch of Woolley Road. So I don't have the specifics. We'll have the map available when we have our community meeting, but that is the street that we're looking at improving right now via the grant.
Thank you. Questions from the dais? Well, I'll start because I have several questions. You might want to come back up, Albert, because I think I've got some for you as well. Again, thank you so much for coming and giving us this presentation. We obviously, all of us are very well aware that housing needs within our city is a huge undertaking. So I want to say thank you for investing in the city of Oxnard. Albert, you mentioned state funding. Besides the slide, and the acronym just escaped me, AHSC, I think, is that correct?
ASIC, yes.
Thank you. Besides that funding, what other state funding were you guys looking at? Because you mentioned going after some state funding. Are you looking at through a budget request? Are you looking through additional funding through state agencies? That would be really helpful to know.
Yeah, sure. Besides ASIC, which will be roughly 25 million, if we get awarded, we're getting 1 million plus from the city of Oxnard, and then we're also getting federal tax credits, and then that's it.
So I see Albert's already. So just kind of going off of the fact that it's not guaranteed funding through the state through that particular program, although it is highly anticipated. With the state being in such a severe budget deficit, they're obviously looking at cutting programs. And so trying to just wrap my head around, if you don't receive that funding, would this project still go forward, and if so, how?
So if we don't get the funding this year, there's always next year, or there's other state funding that we can cobble together, such as the multifamily housing program. Many Mansions has successfully applied to that several times. There's other funding as well, again, on the state lines, such as No Place Like Home. But the fact is, we're getting good indication from the people who know, our consultants who manage successful applications, that this is scoring quite well. It's looking very good.
Thank you. Albert, did you have anything to add? No? Okay. Yeah, of course.
The majority of the work that we do is affordable housing, and we like to refer to it as financing lasagna. So basically, every project has potentially 5 or 6 different funding sources, and it's not uncommon for one of those to drop out at some point or not to get the funds in the time needed. So Doug and his team actually do a great job of saying, okay, well, this source is no longer available. Let's find another one, and it ends up being it's a continuously evolving thing, but it typically they've been successful at figuring out a way to get it done. In any case, whether if it's not this source of funds, they'll find another source. But ultimately, the whole idea is to get housing built because housing is necessary.
No, thank you for that. I think it was more me just asking that there is that continual commitment from many mansions that this project somehow, some way will get accomplished. To kind of go off of what you were talking about for affordable housing, I think on one of the slides it did show the type of eligibility for individuals who are applying to live in these apartments and these facilities. Can you kind of just go over really quickly what type of the clientele eligibility requirements? I know it's a low income and homeless and veterans and stuff like that. So is there going to be preferential treatment to those maybe who are transitioning out of maybe a congregate setting for the unhoused? That would be really helpful for us to know as well, what type of clients that you would be marketing to.
And then I can, if you want.
Yeah, currently with the funding that we've identified for Aspire, we would have 5 units that would be designated for homeless individuals. And that is primarily being driven by, we should have clarified earlier, the city, at a future council meeting, the city will be looking to make a preliminary award of $1.2 million in some of our federal funds that we received. And that's driving those 5 homeless units. The remaining units will be just all for low-income families, primarily individuals making between 30 and 60% of area and median income.
Okay, so if you're marketing towards families, you did mention that the majority of your units are 1 bedroom. If you are looking at trying to attain some families, would it be more prudent to build additional 2 bedrooms instead of just the 1 bedroom, since you have 1 bedrooms primarily in Central Terrace?
It's a good point. We wanted to house as many people as we could. Our typical clientele is a single parent with 1 child, or a single parent with 2 children. 77% of our clientele have that type of profile now. So, we could have always designed it with, more 2 bedrooms, but there's a trade-off of that'd be fewer units, fewer families, fewer individuals. So we had to make a line somewhere. Is the best answer I can come up with.
Plus, if I may, I would add that as part of the ASIC program, they really score us on density. So we need to get units in there. The whole kind of premise of the program is saying we want density, we want the transportation next to employment centers. So in order to be competitive, we had to go with smaller units to get the density up in order to be competitive. Because if we don't, we won't win. But the city is committed to building an array of housing. I know we're working on a Cypress Place down in South Oxnard, where it's all 1s, 2s, and 3s, and it's kind of split, between probably about 30% of all of those unit types. So we're committed to all serving all kind of families. It just in this particular project, we needed to go a little bit more denser in order to be competitive.
No, thank you for that. Go ahead.
As well?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, just in terms of families and things like that, because we're doing the Cypress project as well. What happens is, as the family size gets bigger, typically the family, then the children usually are older and things like that, and then it's more common to move into a place that has maybe a little bit more space, a little bit more parking, those kind of things. In this dense urban setting, it's much closer in, it's more walkable, so it's typically, as Doug mentioned, maybe a single parent with 1 or 2 small children or something like that, but it's also walkable to the transit center, it's walkable to services, things like that. As the families grow, they typically move a little bit farther out where the unit size gets bigger, but then we have to record, then that requires us to provide more parking and other sorts of things, because then you may have dual income or potentially a child that's going to school that can drive, those kind of things. So it's definitely a trade-off, but in the urban areas, we need to maximize the density we can to house as many people as we possibly can. Thank you.
I promise I only have maybe 2 other questions, so I apologize to everyone. So I am the chair of Wagon Wheel, so high density housing is something that is right in my wheelhouse, no pun intended. And I think I'm just taking into consideration, Oxnard has a lot of multi-generational families living in one particular home. So although the clientele maybe in LA might be different, I'm just trying to take that in consideration. And I can speak on behalf of this, since my partner, her 2 parents and 6 kids had a 1-bedroom house, an apartment, up until she was in high school and graduated to college. So I'm looking at it's like, okay, being respectful of not only the space, and I understand the high density housing and to be competitive, but really looking at the needs of the city as a whole. So I guess my last question is, you mentioned transit and buying like vans. Are you talking about, I know the state has a climate goal of reaching by 2035. Are you looking at obtaining like the zero emission vehicles, electric, what type to also help our transportation needs within the city?
These will be, the vans we purchase will be zero emissions, not, zero emissions, sorry. And they'll be purchased by, again, Cal Vans, where we won't go into the van business ourselves. Leave that to professionals.
Okay, that's all the questions I had. Sorry. I ask a lot of questions, so. Perfect. If you guys can also send us the information for the community meeting, we can distribute that to all the neighborhood chairs. That'd be great. And also, I think we have a copy of your presentation. Is that correct, Adam? And we'll make sure that everyone gets that because I know there'll be several questions, as well as if we can get that map so we have a better understanding of what we're looking at. That'd be great.
Will do.
Thank you so much for your presentation. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, so the next order of business will be item 2 under new business. The subject is the Carmen Ramirez Family Justice Center. The 2024 INCO Executive Board will receive a presentation from the representatives from the Carmen Ramirez Family Justice Center, followed by questions and answers. Welcome. Thank you so much.
Hello, thank you to the chair, the vice chair, to all of you, and to all the general members. My name is Rahama Danish Engel. I'm one of the managers at the Ventura County Family Justice Center, and I am very honored for one of my newest assignments to be project managing the opening of the Carmen Ramirez Family Justice Center. So for those who may not be familiar, I'm going to go through my presentation bit, which will give you the background of what a Family Justice Center is, the types of services we provide, and then a little bit about specifically what I'm coming to you all today with specific to your area and neighborhoods. But if I could get my presentation pulled up.
I think they're working on that right now. And then you should have, I call it the clicker.
I have a
the right
clicker,
word?
yes.
Okay, you got the clicker. We'll make sure we get your presentation up.
Well, we can keep going if that's okay. My first question was the first part of the, oh, that's perfect, it's up there. This first part is usually a bit interactive, so I have some questions. Is it okay if people take a second to respond to some of them? And
yeah, of course.
If that's okay, okay.
We love this.
So it's kind of starting with a thought exercise. So I want you to sort of think that, it's a Friday afternoon during the day, and you get a text from one of your best friends, Veronica, right? So that's sort of the image I have up on the screen. And it just says, Jay hurt me. I'm scared. Can you come over right now? I'm sorry. And you think, oh no, I love Veronica. What's going on? I knew I didn't like Jay, right? All the things you think, right? And so now the question is, what are you going to do? So you get over there and you try and figure out, where can she go right now? She's a little hurt. She's not bleeding. She's not like grievously injured or anything like that. But Jay was physical with her. So she's feeling scared and she's not feeling great. She's a little injured, but you guys are trying to problem solve. You're trying to be there for her right now. So what comes to mind about where you could take her right now? I'm looking around in case someone behind me has an answer. Okay, so I heard women's shelter as one of the answers, right? And that is great. And I wish this county had more shelter spaces, but unfortunately, a lot of our shelters are highly, highly impacted. And the process for eligibility and to get in there, it can be hard. And there can also be some requirements that you might need to figure out then and there in order to get in, right? So that's a good option, not always available to everyone. And she might be like, well, I don't want to leave my home, right? She just adopted a new puppy. Not all shelters let you take your pet with you, right? So what are some other places that come to mind where you might be able to go get help? She's a little injured. Where might you take her if you're worried that it might be worse than it seems? You might, okay, right, so I heard hospital. And that is also one of the main options where you can go, especially if you're more injured, you might want to go there. I heard something about a house.
Yeah, the individual's houses she's asked for help for.
Oh, yeah, she could go to your house, right? And that might work, but you have, and she's welcome to come home with you. You would take her there to keep her safe no matter what. But you also have a partner, you have your own kids, you have 2 pets, a rooster, a cat, like she's in crisis. Maybe that's not the best place for her to go. I mean, some of this is a little hyperbole, but these are real situations, right? I've also heard people say, maybe take her to her family's house, to one of her relatives, seeing some nodding. And that's also a great option if her family's nearby. If she's on good terms with her family, if she feels safe with them, right? So maybe that's not an option for her too. Where else would someone take her? A motel, yes, and you can do that as long as you have the financial resources for that. And how long can you make that last? Would anyone maybe take her, you knew that something was gonna happen, she needs safety, you want her to get protection. Would anyone maybe think about taking her to a police station? Right, so I see a hand up and I heard some affirmatives behind me. And so, yeah, so that's also another option. We have really good partners with law enforcement. So they're well trained, they know about our services, a lot of trauma informed, crisis intervention trained officers in our county. But here's where some of the issues are. So you take her to the ER or the hospital, it's busy, it's crowded, there's not a lot of privacy. So here she is, she's traumatized, she's thinking that the person that she's in love with, the one that she was supposed to build this life with, has hurt her. She doesn't know what she's gonna do next. Maybe they just merged incomes, she can't afford her place on her own. And she's trying to figure all this out in a heightened emotional state where the person next to you is coughing. You just overheard they have COVID, now you're worried about that. Her mom's immunocompromised, someone else is throwing up. This isn't like a great place to be if you're in that sort of traumatized crisis state, and not a lot of privacy. The hospitals are dealing with so much, and if you take them to one of our law enforcement partners, you're going to the lobby, you're gonna check in, again, really crowded, lots of people who are there going in for a lot of different reasons, right? So you have someone who's there reporting their bicycle being stolen, someone mad about something that their neighbor did to their property, or even if they get brought back, there's like the bullpen kind of classic look from Law and Order. Again, not a lot of privacy, or you can feel like you're the one who's in trouble, that you're the one who did something wrong. It might not be the intention, it's just the association with the place. So she might not be feeling so great. So she's not feeling like there's maybe a lot of options. So you go online and you look them up and you're trying to see, okay, maybe I call in hotline, maybe I try and find a local resource. Luckily it's business hours. What if this happened in the middle of the night? What if this happened on a weekend? Where would I go? What's a reputable source? I promise I'm not picking on them. I'm a friend of these people, but wellnesseveryday.org, how many of you recognize that website address? That is actually an official website from Ventura County Behavioral Health. That is a reputable resource, but how many of us would necessarily know that when you're just scrolling on the results, right? So now you don't know what to do with all of this information. Where can you go? And that's sort of the issue that was being faced everywhere with the traditional model for receiving services if you're in a crisis situation about being in an unsafe relationship, right? So the process for trying to seek out resources can be very re-traumatizing, can be re-victimizing. You're having to chase the services yourself, go to one place, go to another, try again, wait for them to be open, wait for someone to be available. Can be inconsistent. One person is trained up more recently, their information is a little bit different than the other place, and then you're not sure where to go next or what might happen next. So then, a while ago, people decided, let's try a different model. Let's build something called a Family Justice Center. And our hope is to be able to improve the lives of those who have experienced trauma and offer them hope and opportunities for healing. And some of the ways we do that is through this approach where we try and do everything under one roof. So we try to bring as many of the resources on site or to the person who's visiting us for them where they are. So they're not having to leave, go to one place after another. We're bringing services to them. Everything is free and confidential. Both short and long-term services are available across the spectrum of things, thanks in large part and almost complete part to the many partners that we're able to have. So if it's food, housing support, clothing, mental health services, civil legal services, things like that, we're able to try and connect people to that. And we have more than 35 agencies working together to try and meet the needs of each and every client who comes through there. And we're always working to build more partnerships and make other partners. That's an allusion to a later ask that I'm gonna have. So this is a picture of our current location. It's in Ventura and Loma Vista across from the hospital. But I'm here especially to talk to all of you at your neighborhood council because of the opening of the Carmen Ramirez Family Justice Center. So in the summer of last year, the county bought a building, the building that you see here, and this is going to be where the second Family Justice Center in the county will be opened. Building rehab is already underway for the part that we will occupy. It is already occupied in part by tenants. Very fortunate that some of those tenants are actually already partners. MyCop, who you're probably familiar with, City Impact. There's also Elim Church of Oxnard and 2 other businesses, Avante Hair Salon, and a partner business that they have. And all of those businesses in the church are turning out to be fantastic community partners too, and we're so grateful to everyone who's in that building already. And we're really trying to do the work now of letting people know that we're opening and that we want to build a family justice center. I'm going to go over sort of the services that we have in Ventura and what we'll be bringing with us to Oxnard. But there's an opportunity now for the community to come together and tell us what they might need specifically in this particular location, right? We want to build something that really meets the needs of the neighborhood that this is going to be serving. And the intent was to open this to serve the greater Oxnard Plain. So that's Oxnard, Port Hueneme, and the unincorporated areas that are close to it. So the Family Justice Center, it helps victims and survivors of 7 crime types: elder abuse, dependent adult abuse, domestic violence, sex crimes, human trafficking, child abuse, and hate crimes. And when they come, we try and make sure that they're walking into a nice, welcoming space. That's going to be our goal of the Carmen Ramirez Family Justice Center as well. This is an example of our existing lobby. We've partnered with Childhood Matters, who created this children's corner. We've also incorporated the voice of survivors in just decorating even the painting of the sky you see. That was actually an idea of a survivor who, when she went through what she didn't have a family justice center. And it was actually her suggestion to give people who are coming there something nicer and better to look at, right, than just a wall. And so thanks to our executive director, Michael Jump, he said, okay, we're going to listen to the voice of survivors, right? So that's just one small way that's incorporated. And then once they come in, this building used to be a medical office, but we're trying to make it homey, and we're continuing to do so. It now has carpet. It's been repainted. Continue to put in cozy comfort items. We always have snacks, coffee, tea, that sort of thing available. And one of the things we try and do is, in bringing services to the client, when someone's here working with a victim advocate, receiving core advocacy services, or we're creating a safety plan, we try and literally bring our on-site partners or do real-time connections to our off-site partners in that room while they're here. So these are some of the partners we're able to call on. We have, for example, child support services in the building. We now have MyCop in the building, who also provides navigation in Spanish and Mixteco. And a number of these other partners too. And just so you know how busy we are in just this one location, we see a little over 3,000 domestic violence cases every year just in this one location, 600 sexual assault cases, about 250 elder abuse cases, and 12 human trafficking cases typically come through in a given year. We expect with the opening of the second location for this number in total to go up, which is sad in that grander scheme, but we're really glad to be able to making these types of services more accessible to the people that need it. Some of the things we're trying to bring online sooner, even before the building is completely ready for us to inhabit fully, is a restraining order clinic. Right now we do it 3 times a week in Ventura, and folks who need that type of protection are given basically a workshop on how they can file it themselves. Our office overall also does mass violence response. So they responded to Route 91, which was the shooting in Vegas, and they also responded to the borderline mass shooting and are part of every annual remembrance things. So a part of the community in a lot of ways there. There's also going to be in the new location an additional new safe harbor. And Safe Harbor is essentially where someone could go if they have been referred by law enforcement or child services, if they're a victim of sexual assault or child abuse. So they're able to receive a forensic exam and forensic interview by highly trained professionals, very skilled in that area, and done in a way that's unlike it being done in other places. I really invite everyone to come and take a tour. Also an ask that I'll be making later. We currently have 3 courthouse facility dogs that are also available to support survivors and victims of crime. This one is Tracker. He is mainly located in our Ventura location. I'm going to try and manifest this now. We're hoping to have a 4th one to come and be dedicated to the Oxnard location. And it's not just nice to have, but there are studies that really show that the presence of a facility dog really does impact the emotional and physical well-being of both the staff and also the clients, obviously, that are coming in. We have specialty youth programs. One of them is year-round. It's called Pathways to Promise. And it's for youth who've been exposed to domestic violence or other abuse and trauma. And we provide activities around wellness, resiliency, things like that, and trying to connect them to what the next phase for them might be in their life when they age out of this particular program. And then Camp Hope is one of our flagship youth programs. It is the only evidence-based camping program in the nation. It is done throughout many locations. Last year, we brought our largest group to date, which I think was 48 campers. Also, they're all youth who've been exposed to domestic violence or other trauma in their lives. A lot of the campers, this program started before the Family Justice Center in 2015, I think. This predates me, so I'm a little fuzzy on the years, I apologize. And some of them are now old enough that they're becoming counselors. And they are now applying to college, and they're getting into college. And so you can really see that this is working anecdotally and locally, but also there is robust research around this program, originally done through the University of Oklahoma, around how hope is a primary mitigator for toxic stress that youth will experience. And so Camp Hope is a manualized sort of camping experience. It's more than just camping, but it does a lot for the kids. And you can also see us out and around in the community, sometimes here in Oxnard. When other people are hosting things, we're always happy to bring our resources, a small sampling of which I have unpacked onto this table. So please come up and take anything for yourself and to maybe disseminate to other people. Also at other partner events, for example, this is Child Support's Trunk or Treat. We like to be there, not just in your time of crisis, but know that we want to be a good neighborhood partner to you. And we are fortunate enough to have an associated foundation, which allows us to take in donations of funds from different groups that may want to make a financial contribution. Also able to accept donations of essential goods. We try and make that readily available to anyone who comes in for services. If they're having, for example, to flee an unsafe situation, making sure they have at least basic goods to get through the night the next couple of days for themselves and any family members they have. And then also this toy wall, which continues to grow, and it's existing mostly because of donations. And we're able to, any kiddos who are there of all age groups who might be accompanying their adult who's here for services, or they themselves are receiving services, they're able to come in, pick something to help them get through their visit. They get to keep it. Or if it's an adult and they just have children at home, they can come and take something to bring back with them. A lot of families who've had to flee, for example, you're grabbing what you can and you're not remembering to grab something entertaining for your kid that's coming along with you. So it's a nice thing that we're able to provide as well. And hopefully coming soon, we'll be able to open a domestic violence shelter. It's also located on the property, in the process of doing physical rehabilitation work to the building and trying to identify additional funding to be able to open it soon. And also survivor clothing closet. So that folks who either need clothes for the court appointments, job interviews, things like that, they'd be able to get everything here for free. And just one of the main tenets in which we operate is that hope really can change everything. And we talk about hope both as a feeling that, touches us, so we feel it emotionally and it's warm, but hope can also be defined in a psychometric sort of way. And it really talks to grit and resiliency and the ability for someone to persevere and overcome in difficult circumstances. And every single published study about hope, every single one, it says that hope is a significant modifier and mitigation against stress and trauma. And so that's that. I will close with my couple of specific asks for this community group here, which is, this is just one version of this presentation, and we would love so much to be able to bring this information to more of the neighborhoods, right? So for any of you and your specific neighborhood councils that you lead, we are happy to come over. We also have staff that can do this presentation in Spanish, and we can also provide translation if we need it in other indigenous languages, like Mixteco or Zapoteco as well, or if you have a need for ASL interpretation, we really are able to make this presentation and information as accessible as possible. So please, if there's any spaces you would feel comfortable inviting us into or to share our materials, we would be happy to connect with you and provide that. And then also coming up soon will be a community survey that we're going to make available both online and try and have it disseminated in person for those who don't have that same digital access throughout the community. So really an opportunity for folks to be able to voice what they would like to see in the Carmen Ramirez Family Justice Center that might be specific for this area. And just to let you know, some of the things we're working on to that end are some special programs, including bringing art as a wellness tool for those who have experienced trauma. So we're working with a number of artists who are invested in that and going through trauma-informed training to be able to bring really quality programs to that regard. A community kitchen, grant funding's already been identified for that, so that's hopefully going to be built in the center soon. And then special youth spaces dedicated to their needs as well. So with that, I will leave it open for questions.
Well, first, I just wanted to say thank you so much for coming and giving your presentation. This center and what you're doing is extremely important work, and I just want to personally say on behalf of the board that we are very honored that you have come to give us your presentation. Are there any questions from anyone? I think I see someone who might have a question. No? Anyone online? No? Anyone on the board? Yes.
I have a question. Yeah, how many beds you're going to have over that building for people who want, when they need help? Are you going to have beds there too for them?
Beds. So like for the folks who might be needing a place to stay that evening?
That evening.
So that is not in the current plans for the property in Oxnard, just because of the space limitations, right? So it's a very large building. It's right on 6th Street and A Street at the corner.
Yes.
But with current tenants already being present and the limitations of that space, it's unlikely at this time or that we'd be able to make domestic violence shelter beds available or something similar. What we do have is already a building on the property of the current Ventura location, and that is, they just finished asbestos abatement and lowering the windows and all this other stuff to bring it up to code, right? That should be able to have, I think, 6 beds in the main building, and we're going to erect 4 pallet shelters, I believe, and I think they're supposed to have 2 beds each. And I'm hesitating on the specific details because it's going to depend on the exact model that is still being produced. All the things you find out when you're starting to buy stuff, right? But that's the goal for that as well. So hopefully there'll be at least 10 more, if not more, 10, somewhere between 10, 12 more beds, specifically for domestic violence survivors who are needing that space. The current plan is for the Coalition for Family Harmony, who's already able to run that kind of program. They would be the ones running the shelter on that location as well. And I think the goal is for it to be short-term stays, essentially.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And go ahead.
Hi, I'm Rainey with Cabrillo. First of all, I just had to say thank you very much for this. I didn't even know that this was available here. I used to do, I was a victims advocate volunteer in Colorado before I moved here. We would have just loved a space like this. This is amazing.
We're always taking volunteers.
Well, so that was a question, but specifically the unit that you were just talking about for kind of emergency shelter, is that guarded? Do you have?
Oh, yes. So it will be, our current security does not cover it right now because it's just not open.
Right.
But yes, they're looking at staff that'll be available and on site 24/7, I believe is the model. And then we'll also have security while it's open. The property is also behind like a locked parking area as well, so you can't just drive into it either. Okay. And so, yes, there'll be, but people much more familiar and versed in this area of safety and security. Right. The Family Justice Center here in this county is embedded in the district attorney's office. So security is definitely at the forefront of everyone's mind, and they will handle it.
So important in situations like that, just immensely so. And then the other question I have, because you would be doing medical exams presumably here in
Yes.
Oxnard, would you provide transportation then for, or is that something that you guys?
Transportation between where and
then
where?
to a shelter?
Oh, so yeah, so we do have transportation programs already. Like we're able to offer free Uber rides.
Okay.
And there's some other temporary housing situations and services too. So yes, that can be addressed. And I do just thank you for reminding me about the medical exam. So these are, it will be limited to the forensic exam, although they are trying to expand a little bit of the lab work and support that they're able to offer. Our forensic exam nurses are through the healthcare agency. And this is my plug now for people who can make this stuff happen. There's only 6 in the entire county that have the credentials to be able to do a forensic exam of this nature. And so most of them operate on call. There is currently 1 full-time nurse who oversees the program and is able to provide forensic nursing. And so far, the timing of it all seems to work for those who request a forensic exam, but just pointing that out in case someone knows someone who wants to be a nurse.
Thank you very much. And I do have an opportunity. I would like to have you come speak at a group. So this would be great.
Thank you so much. And happy to go to any of the places here related to the opening of the Carmen Ramirez Family Justice Center, but we do serve countywide. So if there's also just any other group that you think would benefit from knowing about this, please let us know.
Thank you. Yes?
Walter Hagedorn, Oxnard Shores. Yeah, it seems like, thank you also for what you're doing. It seems like these are the people that we really want to help the most and the quickest. And in the previous presentation, they said that in their housing unit, they have maybe 5 units that are set up for homeless. I think that shouldn't the city have those units specifically designated for these type of people, since these are the people in the greatest needs and most immediate need? And does the housing department here in Oxnard have any resources for such people? Because I think that's where the emphasis should be.
I think that's great, and if you want to call them back. But actually, I did take note of Mini Mansions being here. City of Oxnard is already one of our partners. It was thanks to a large partnership with them and a fiscal donation that we were able to even buy the building in the first place. So City of Oxnard's already very on board with this. I made note to try and follow up with, both Boys and Girls Club, but also Mini Mansions to see if there were ways we could partner. The way that housing for the folks that would be in sort of this housing crisis at the time that they're coming to our center, typically a lot of them already have sort of a short-term solution, staying with friends, loved ones to some extent. The county, have you guys had presentations from the continuum of care folks out here?
That is on my future agenda items.
Oh, okay.
I will be presenting later on in the meeting, but yes, that's something that we're looking at.
Oh, because at this time, we would really just be going through the main county system. And my understanding is that all of the sort of housing support that you're talking about that would be available, including for people who are specifically experiencing domestic violence, gets filtered through the continuum of care. They take a look at, they coordinate countywide all of the homeless services, essentially, that are available to people. And homeless services extends also to preventing homelessness, including like providing utilities benefits and things like that. So I would be hopeful that if the city had something specific, they'd be connected to that. But it's not my area of expertise.
Yeah, it seems to me with a lot of money going into affordable housing and homeless housing, that these are the people we really should be servicing first. So I hope that maybe we can get the housing department to look at those units that they're designating for this type of activity, that actually they give the priority to your people. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Are there any other questions? Did you have a question? Question?
Go ahead. No,
oh, he's good. Go ahead.
Rana, I have a question. In the example, it was basically a female.
Yes.
What about males?
Yes, they
Because
are
we
our
do have
clients
a
as
lot of
well.
males that are victims of domestic violence
Yes,
in
that is
this county.
correct. So I will say that our current statistics have female clients at around 83, 82% of those that we serve today, and the rest identify as male. Very few people identify openly, at least on the data that I've seen, as non-binary, or refuse to state. So I don't have really good numbers on that. But yes, so they do come in. They are our clients in all of those categories that we serve, right? So including elder abuse, dependent adult abuse, domestic violence. So yeah, so if there's any other ideas of how we could also reach out to, to men in particular, to your point, and make sure that they know that this is a space for them to receive services too, happy to also take that invitation to connect.
Exactly. Also, and Ventura is a 24-hour facility?
It is not at this time. And so there's a couple of things. So our Family Justice Center in Ventura, the business hours are only 8 to 5. There is a phone number and a number that you can text at any time, but it's not staffed after business hours. One of the things that we are looking into for the Carmen Ramirez Family Justice Center is how could we provide alternate hours. So there's one model in particular that we're looking at based on what's worked at other family justice centers, which is figuring out it doesn't have to become 24/7 in order to meet those alternate hour needs of a community. So we're trying to identify, hopefully through the community survey and presenting to other groups and getting feedback, we can find out exactly which days would need an early start, which days would need extended hours into the evening, and how often would a Saturday or Sunday, and what portion of Saturday or Sunday would need to be open in order to meet the needs of the community.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Are there any other questions?
I just want to say thank you for coming out. I really, really appreciate everything you guys are doing for my first night here to be Manny Mansions and this. Yes. Thank you. Thank you for taking the time. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Yes, happy to be here and anywhere else. We can go. And then just a quick tour of some of the items up here. Please don't make me take them back home. There's the cards here that announce the Carmen Ramirez Family Justice Center. Also a quick summary of the services provided on the other side. Referral cards for you to take and hand out at your will. An announcement for the Foundation's Second Hope Gala. And then a number of resources for survivors and victims of crime in the county.
Well, I just want to say thank you again so much. Did you have a question, sir? Are you standing up? Oh, okay. Just want to make sure I addressed if anyone had any questions or comments. But again, thank you so much. Would love to connect with you on a couple things as well. So if you wouldn't mind just like holding off, then I can stick. Okay. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, well, everyone grab some of these wonderful resources that we can hand out to our community to advocate on the services that we provide. Next, we'll go to neighborhood chair reports. This is for neighborhood chairs that may individually report on items of interest or concern to their neighborhoods. The INCO cannot enter into a detailed discussion or take any action on any item presented during these reports. So if you do have a neighborhood chair report, please go ahead and come up to the microphone so we can hear what you have to say.
Chris Bissonette, Blackstock South. Just to let you know that the Refuge Center is increasing the garbage from $30 up to $45 here in the near future. There is the last meeting is going to be held right there at the community center on Bard and Saviors next to the library on the 29th, and I want to say it's at 6:30 at night. So please be advised of that. Was fortunate enough to be in one of the presentations for about a half hour, and then the Zoom shut down. So I reached out to the public works officer as well as the manager and vice manager, and they're extending out a few more things. And I understand it may be in next month's presentation as well here for that. The other thing is after a year, we have finally submitted the speed humps for 2 of the 4 streets. 96% that are out there, and I've been told that it's going to be at least 7 more months before we actually get them installed, but they're there. So that's a success story. And the March 28th, Blackstock South is going to be having a meeting pertaining to the neighborhood cleanup that's going to be affected on the 6th of April at the Johnson Park area. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Chris. Next.
Good evening, Tim Gingrass with Rio Lindo Neighborhood. I just wanted to say we are having our upcoming election meeting next Thursday, the 15th, starting at 7 at Rio Lindo Elementary School, 2131 Snow Avenue. And that's it.
Well, thank you for that. Yeah. Next presenter, please.
I'm Rainey at Cabrillo again. I've been awfully chatty tonight. Sorry. So we recently submitted our Quimby request. As far as I know, it has been presented to the neighborhood services, no, excuse me, City Council and the Public Works. I'm not quite sure what the process is yet, so I'm trying to get more information on that. Hopefully I can share that with y'all with some updates at our next meeting. Our next meeting is scheduled for February 21st at Emily, is it Richen or Riken? How do you guys say it? Do you say Richen? Oh, I say Riken. Richen, tomato, tomato. Okay. Elementary, we're February 21st at 6 p.m. We will be having a presentation from District 1 Supervisor Matt Levere. So if anyone wants to attend that, he should have some good things to say. And that's all I have for our neighborhood.
Thank you. Next.
Hi, I'm Isaac Colliff from Seaview Estates. We just had our first neighborhood council meeting of the year, February 1st. We had really good turnout despite the rain, so I was really happy to see that. We had the environmental resources folks out, and they gave a great little talk, spurred lots of discussion, and answered some questions. I would highly recommend them to come out to your meetings. The questions that they answered and the information they gave was really well received. We also had some folks from the Public Works. We're starting in on our speed bump, well, me at least, speed bump adventure. So love to get any tips or anything that you might have. But they were pretty open to things and talked about the process and stuff like that. So they were a good resource too. So highly recommend those. So we're also on a Quimby journey as well. So maybe we can chat later and talk about that stuff. So thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Try to be last so I can lower this. Deborah Arvalo from South Bank Neighborhood. We had a wonderful meeting, and at that meeting, we were able to have Michael Inda on behalf of Supervisor Long's office to discuss some of the things between River Park and South Bank, many issues with the fence, my neighbors, the homeless, and some of the issues that they are willing to help with, especially the graffiti and the water channel, and we had some updates. And I want to say that Gabe Turan has also been very active and has participated. He wasn't able to attend this meeting, but he has been to every other meeting that we have had. We had Corporal Everhart there, who discussed and stated that all of our thefts and burglaries have been lower, which is a positive. We too had the transportation planner report located for North H Street, which is a segue from Vineyard and North H to go 100 miles an hour and take out walls. So we are still under the reporting section of that now. And also on Stone Creek, we've had people on Ventura Road making a left-hand turn after leaving like the turn from Wagon Wheel and heading down, racing down that road. So that's another area of concern on Stone Creek. Recently we had an accident on Vineyard, which is the outer corner, and H, and luckily there were no injuries, but now there's another area of concern that we're going to be reviewing with Miguel Guillen. And they've been very awesome in coming to the meetings, helping us out, giving us information on speed bumps if we qualify, so we're in the same mess with all the speed bumps. Dinah Velzy, I have to give a shout out to her because she attended our meeting to actually conduct our South Bank Neighborhood Council election. And Well, we're all reelected. So as chair, again, myself, Deborah Arvalo, 40-year retired teacher in the Oxnard School District. Vice Chair Ellis Carter, retired probation officer. Treasurer Alicia Martin at El Rio School Board. Secretary Olivia Garcia, business owner. And member at large Chris Arvalo, retired CEO of USC LAC. Ruth Oriaza, who's currently a teacher where we conduct our meetings at Rio del Norte. And I have to give a shout out to her because she always sets up everything for us in the way of chairs and smart board and all the rest. Member at large, I want to acknowledge this lady because she devoted her time for us for a whole year, but due to that ugly C word, she had to bow down. But in her place, we have a wonderful person. Jacqueline Saldana is the person stepping down, and now we have Lindy Levin, who's a retired insurance agent. So we have a full board, and I'm very excited to say that our Facebook that we started, a year ago, I said, if it goes up, besides us here, the 7 of us here, if it goes up to 5 people, I'll be happy. We're up to 65, so big shout out to our Facebook. So not only next door, but the Facebook is really helping, and we just put our agendas on there. We get them excited. We tell them all the outreach things that we're doing, so that's been pretty amazing. I just want to say thank you to all of you for your time and effort and for your due diligence on many of the matters that we have here in Oxnard, and also to the other South Bank members here. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we have one other person in person, and then I see the people's hands raised online. So, well.
Thanks. Good evening, Ronald Arwejo, East Village. We had a meeting last month, and the mayor was able to attend, so we were very happy that he took his time to talk about the past year and for the year to come. We also have a bulky items drop-off March 9 in the East Village, and we also have an election that will be coming up before our next meeting. So most of us, actually all of us, live in one of the county supervisory districts that do have an election. The League of Women Voters do have 2 forums for at least the District 3 county seat, and those are the following 11 neighborhoods: Wagon Wheel, South Bank, Sierra Linda, Orchard, Rio Lindo, West Village, East Village, Lemonwood, Eastmont, Diamond Bar, College Park, and Terrace Estate. So they had a really good Zoom forum this past Monday, and you can go look at the video on their website. You're gonna have an in-person at the Oxnard Union High School District Board next Tuesday, in person, so you don't have to register to attend, and it's gonna be in the East Village, so that'll be nice too. There's also another forum via Zoom for one of the judgeships this Friday, so you can look at all of that information there. So make your vote count. In the primary elections, there's usually half as much turnout in the general, so if you vote in this election, which ballots are probably gonna be in your mailboxes later this week or even today, your vote will count twice as much. So appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate all of that. Let's go to online.
Sophia, do you want to unmute?
Sure. Hey, good evening. So we'll be having our meeting tomorrow on our HACOG, same time, 6 p.m. in the cafeteria. We'll have our neighborhood report by Officer Espinosa, followed by Oxnard Fire Department with Mr. Hamilton, the fire chief, along with assistant fire chiefs, and to proceed with our neighborhood council election. So we're hoping to be able to get others to volunteer and step up and be able to carry on with the different events that we're planning on already having with other partners. So we're so excited to be able to have our first meeting for this year and continue to do our food distributions just like always, second and fourth Saturday of the month. So anyone can stop by for some goodies to take home or to volunteer at 8 o'clock. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Sophia. Let's go to Bryce Canyon North.
I'm Don Ike here for Bryce Canyon North. On January 17th, meeting was attempted with Bryce Canyon North, Bryce Canyon South, and you can tell by my introduction that quorum was not met, but the small number of people who attended got to meet with Alex Nguyen, the city manager, and Arthur Valenzuela, and we had a nice informal discussion. And see, I got my ballot today, and go out and vote. It's the nature of democracy. And for those of you on next door, stand by for announcements from future meetings.
Thank you. Are there any other neighborhood chairs who have anything to report? Seeing none, we'll go to the next item, which is executive board reports. The executive board may individually report on items of interest or concern. The INCO cannot enter into a detailed discussion or take any action on any item that is presented during these reports. So, Ramon, do you have anything?
Not right now. It's just about, I didn't hear you.
Sorry. Any reports from the executive board? So do you have anything to report?
Not right now. Okay.
You don't have to.
All right.
Thank you. David? No? Lisa? No? Okay. Well, just as I see Diane. Go ahead, Miss Orchard Park.
Hi. I just wanted to talk about the upcoming election and the stuff with the upcoming League of Women's Voters stuff, but it's already been done for me, so I appreciate that and thank you. And it is important to be engaged in our elections, and that's what democracy is about. So definitely go on in there. And let's see, I had a pleasure of meeting with Rebecca Guevara, and she went over the neighborhood cleanups for this year. And we are in the last 2 quarters of the fiscal year 2023 and 24. We've made an impact, and at first I was getting a little concerned, maybe, the neighborhood cleanups were not, but she showed me numbers from when during the year, what the numbers were for the illegal dumping, and compared to the times during the winter time when we don't have any neighborhood cleanups, and the numbers went down significantly. So that's something that we can all be proud of. And these cleanups, they are a lot of work for the neighborhoods, but they also build that bridge between us, between the residents and the city of Oxnard. And together we can keep this going and keep our city clean. But it was amazing to me to see the big difference from just a short period of time, because it's like sometime I think towards latter November through December is when we're quiet, and I think even January. So the numbers are significant, and I think that's something that you can all be proud of, and know that your work is definitely being seen. And so that's basically it for me. Also, she also indicated there's a couple of neighborhoods that we've been working on that have never been activated, ever. And so she's agreed to do some walkthroughs with me on a couple of those neighborhoods, and possibly getting some sort of cleanup for those neighborhoods that has never been activated, so we can start working a little bit harder on those neighborhoods, and hopefully something will come of it. And that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, for Wagon Wheel, we have been dark for the past couple months, but we are working on putting together an election that hopefully we will be held in April, so more to come on that. For the next item on the agenda, we have future agenda items. So this is the part where if you would like to see something on a future agenda item, please go ahead and step up to the microphone and we'll write that down, and then we'll take that into consideration for future agendas. I see two people ready and raring to go. They're running, hurrying up. I like it.
Thank you, Chair.
Yes.
Roger Poirier, Hobson Park East. I've always wondered about how the INCO leadership over the years has kind of made a path forward for the year. I would like the executive board to consider this at your next meeting, to bring a report to the membership about what's 2024 going to look like. What kind of guests you want to speak, what kind of improvements you want to see within the functioning of the INCO. How can we support neighborhood councils more in their action, not necessarily activating inactive neighborhoods, but how do you help those of us with neighborhood councils have better meetings? How do we get the word out better to the residents of our neighborhoods? How do we get them to come to our meetings? What can the executive board share about best practices for operating a neighborhood council? I'd just like to hear that, if you can, at the next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes?
Angela Whitecomb Wilson. I would like to see the INCO do something a little different. We all have an equal vote, yet it just kind of feels very disconnected and very formal. I would really like to see the INCO have a point where we could do breakout sessions, where we could work on communication and best practices so that we're sharing information that works well within this group. It doesn't have to be every meeting, maybe every other meeting, but something that's more of a helpful trading ground for new chairs and old chairs who are struggling. So just food for thought. This isn't a commission, so it shouldn't be ran like a commission. We need to communicate better, and then I think in a less formal setting, we could get a lot more accomplished. So that's pretty much all I have to say.
Thank you. Anybody else? Anyone online? No? Anyone on the board?
Yeah, I want to know what Angela's looking to accomplish. I want to know what Angela's looking to accomplish.
Oh, gosh, a lot. And we had a parks meeting and we realized that we probably shouldn't have one. So, I'll get back to, go ahead.
Limited discussion on the item.
Your little parks committee got together at the library, and then we realized that we probably can't get together as a committee because you have to notify these things and put them out, and we didn't because we're a standing committee. And you have standing committees with the INCO that you don't have with the commission. And we didn't want to get in trouble with the Brown Act. And so I think having clear for us, and if that's wrong, if I'm misunderstanding how this works, I think some training would be really helpful so that we know what we're supposed to do and what we're not supposed to do so that we do it correctly and don't get sued because, lawsuits are the bane of the city's existence. I would just like to see better communication. I think the city is very siloed, and I think that the different groups are siloed. I don't think we work with the commissions. I think we all have like this idea that we think we know what's going on, but we don't. I mean, and that becomes very clear. The more involved you get in the different groups, the more you realize how little other groups know about each other. That's why I'm saying we need something with best practices. We need to work with our commissions. We need to invite our commissions to these meetings. We need to be going to our commission meetings and reporting back to this body what's going on in the city and what we can do about it and how we can be a voice and be active. So that's kind of what I want to accomplish. And I think we need to do that as a group, but it's not a one-person job. And it's not just our city council's job. That's our job. So that's my goal.
Thank you. Okay, so the next item of business is adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting? Yes, a second? Perfect. This meeting is adjourned as of 7:40 p.m. Thank you.